She was the rookie police cadet until the governor honored her first. The academy smelled of polished boots, nervous sweat, and determination. Rows of young men and women stood at attention in their navy blue uniforms, faces set with the intensity of recruits who understood how much this moment meant. Among them stood Emily Carter, 22 years old, her dark hair tucked tightly under her cap, her shoulders squared even though the weight of expectation pressed down on her. She was the rookie, new not just to law enforcement, but to the idea of being someone who others depended on. She had grown up in a small town where the only police presence was a single part-time constable. Her father had been a carpenter, her mother a nurse, and both had taught her to work hard and stand up for what was right. Still, nothing had prepared her for the relentless demands of the State Police Academy. In the first weeks she learned how to march, how to handle a weapon safely, how to apply handcuffs without injuring a suspect, how to read the nervous flicker of someone's eyes and know whether they were lying. Her instructors were tough but fair, and she tried to blend in, to keep her head down, to avoid drawing any special attention. But even in the anonymity of her class, Emily had something different about her, a quiet, unshakable persistence. She wasn't the fastest runner or the best shot, but she never gave up on any drill, and she was always the one who stayed late to help a classmate figure out a technique. Some cadets resented her quiet excellence, others admired it, and a few simply ignored her. She was content to be the one who did her duty without seeking recognition. It was a rainy Tuesday when her life at the academy began to change. That morning, the recruits had been assigned to a community outreach project, something about connecting future officers with the neighborhoods they would one day serve. Emily and a small group were sent to a run-down area of the city where an after-school program was struggling to keep children safe and engaged. She helped set up games, served snacks, and answered endless questions from kids about what it was like to be almost a cop. She listened to their stories of sirens at night, of parents working 2 jobs, of brothers or cousins caught up in trouble. She wasn't prepared for how deeply it would affect her. That night she wrote in her journal, "Maybe being a police officer isn't just about law and order. Maybe it's about being a protector, even when no one notices." A week later, while on a training ride, along with a veteran officer, Emily found herself in the middle of a situation no academy scenario could replicate. They were patrolling a busy downtown street when a call came over the radio about a child missing from a nearby park. The veteran officer took the call, and Emily's heart raced as they sped toward the scene. The child's mother was frantic, pointing in every direction, describing a little boy with curly hair and a red shirt. Emily asked quick, calm questions, scanning the park, the nearby shops, the street beyond. Something about a group of teenagers walking quickly away caught her attention. She jogged over, introduced herself, and asked if they had seen a boy in a red shirt. They hadn't, but one mentioned seeing a little kid wandering toward a construction site. Without thinking of rank or protocol, Emily took off toward the site, calling to her training officer as she went. Inside the partially fenced area, she spotted a small red shape near the edge of a deep trench. The boy was crying, teetering dangerously close to the edge. Emily moved slowly, speaking softly, telling him it was okay, that she was there to help. She reached him just as his foot slipped on loose gravel. Dropping to her knees, she lunged forward and caught his arm, hauling him back to safety. The boy clung to her, sobbing. Emily's hands shook, but her voice stayed steady until she returned him to his mother's arms. Only then did she realize the entire scene had been recorded by bystanders on their phones. By the next day, the video had spread across social media. Rookie Cadet Saves Child, read one headline. Future Hero Cop in the Making, read another. Emily tried to keep her head down, but her instructors called her into the office. They told her she'd acted with courage, composure, and instinct, but also reminded her she had technically left her partner without backup. She accepted the reprimand and the praise with equal humility, insisting she had only done what anyone would have done. But the incident marked her. For the first time, people looked at her differently, as if expecting more. Months passed, and Emily continued through her training. She excelled at de-escalation exercises, often calming simulated suspects with words before others reached for force. She volunteered for community service shifts, quietly tutoring children who came to the academy on field trips. She never spoke about the day at the construction site, though she couldn't forget the look in the boy's eyes when she'd pulled him back from the edge. She carried that memory like a private badge, a reminder of why she had chosen this path. Graduation day arrived under a crisp blue sky. Families filled the rows of folding chairs, cameras clicking as the cadets stood in their dress uniforms. Emily's parents were in the crowd, her mother dabbing her eyes with a tissue. The academy director gave a speech about duty and integrity, then began calling names for the cadets to step forward and receive their certificates. When Emily's name was called, she marched to the stage, saluted smartly, and accepted her diploma. She felt proud, but also nervous about what lay ahead. She would soon be assigned to a precinct, a rookie once again among seasoned officers. She expected nothing more than to start at the bottom and work her way up. What she didn't know was that the video of her saving the child had made its way beyond local news. It had been shown in the state capitol during a meeting about community police relations. One of the staffers had sent it to the governor, who had been moved not just by the rescue, but by Emily's continued record of outreach and humility. Quietly, plans had been set in motion. 2 weeks into her first assignment, Emily was called into her captain's office. She walked in, thinking she was about to be scolded for a paperwork error. Instead, her captain told her to wear her dress uniform the next morning and report to the state capitol for a special ceremony. "Why?" she asked. The captain only smiled. "You'll see." The Capitol building was grand and intimidating, its marble halls echoing with footsteps. Emily felt out of place among the polished officials and security guards. She stood in line with a handful of other officers, all older and more decorated than she was. When the doors to the chamber opened, they were ushered inside to polite applause. At the front of the room stood the governor, a tall woman with a calm but commanding presence. Emily's heart pounded. She had never been this close to someone with so much authority. The governor gave a speech about courage, service, and the need for police officers who were more than enforcers, officers who were protectors, listeners, and builders of trust. Then she called Emily's name. The room seemed to tilt. Emily stepped forward, her boots clicking on the marble floor. She expected to stand at attention while someone else received an award. Instead, the governor held out a medal usually reserved for seasoned officers with decades of service. "This," the governor said, "is in recognition of extraordinary courage and compassion in the line of duty, shown not after years of service, but at the very beginning of a career. Cadet Emily Carter has demonstrated the spirit of public service we need now more than ever." The applause thundered in Emily's ears. She tried to protest, stammering, "Ma'am, I'm just a rookie. I haven't earned. but the governor cut her off gently. "You have earned this, not because of one act, but because of who you already are." She pinned the medal on Emily's uniform herself. Flash bulbs popped. Reporters scribbled. Emily's parents wept openly in the audience. For the first time, Emily felt the weight of the badge she would soon carry, not just as a symbol of authority, but as a promise. After the ceremony, the governor pulled her aside. "I watched the video," she said. "But what impressed me even more was what your instructors wrote about you. Your patience, your kindness, your refusal to cut corners. You're the kind of officer who can change hearts, not just enforce laws. Don't let the system harden you. We need you to stay exactly who you are." Emily nodded, stunned. She walked out of the Capitol building into the bright afternoon sun, feeling both proud and sobered. She hadn't done any of this for recognition, but now that she had it, she felt a greater responsibility than ever. In the weeks that followed, Emily's life became a blur of interviews, photographs, and public appearances. She tried to deflect the spotlight, always turning the conversation back to the importance of teamwork and community. Still, people began to recognize her on the street. Children waved at her patrol car. Other rookies looked to her as a role model. Some senior officers grumbled that she hadn't paid her dues, but others quietly told her she reminded them of why they'd joined the force in the first place. One rainy evening, Emily was dispatched to a domestic disturbance call in a small apartment. She arrived with her training officer to find a man shouting at his partner, the woman clutching a baby. Emily's heart pounded, but she remembered her training and the governor's words. She spoke calmly, steadily, de-escalating the situation until backup arrived. No one was hurt. Later, as they filed their report, her training officer said, "You've got a gift, kid. Don't lose it." At night, Emily often lay awake, thinking of the path ahead. She knew there would be difficult days, accusations, tragedies, moments of doubt. But she also knew she had a choice every day to be the kind of officer who protected, listened, and cared. The governor's honor had not made her a hero. It had simply reminded her of who she wanted to be. Years later, when Emily would rise through the ranks to become a respected leader in her department, she would look back on that day at the Capitol as a turning point. Not because a powerful politician had pinned a medal on her chest, but because it had solidified her sense of duty, humility, and compassion. She had entered the academy as a nervous cadet from a small town. She had walked out of the Capitol as a public servant with a calling. The memory of the little boy in the red shirt never left her. Sometimes she would drive by the construction site, now long since completed, and think about how close he had come to falling. She would imagine him growing up safe, perhaps inspired by the police officer who had saved him. She hoped he never even knew her name, only that someone had cared enough to act. Emily Carter was the rookie police cadet who had never expected anything more than to do her job quietly. But the governor had honored her first, not because of fame or politics, but because true courage and compassion have a way of shining through, even at the beginning of a journey. And Emily carried that honor not as a badge of superiority, but as a daily reminder of her oath, to serve, to protect, and to keep her heart open even in the hardest moments. In that, she found the truest form of strength. True courage and leadership are not measured by rank or years of service, but by compassion, integrity, and the willingness to act selflessly for others. Recognition and honor may come unexpectedly, but what truly matters is staying humble, keeping one's heart open and serving with empathy from the very beginning.